And welcome to this edition of EMS Now Up Close. I am Eric Miskell with EMS Now. Thanks for taking the time to listen in today. I have two guests with me today. This will be an interesting discussion. I have Sebastian Schaal. He's the founder and managing director of Luminovo, and also Wayne Clancy, who's an executive vice president with Trilogy-Net. Trilogy-Net is a Canadian-based EMS company. We're doing a bit of a case study today, which I find very interesting, and we don't do many of these, so I think this will add some really good value. Sebastian, let me begin with you. I've interviewed you several times before, but for the benefit of the audience who may be seeing you for the first time, why don't you give a quick overview of who Luminovo is?
Yeah, 100%, Eric. Thank you so much for having us again on the show. Yeah, Luminovo is one of the fastest growing software companies for the electronic supply chain. We have a software as a service offering that is very modular and is tailored to like EMS companies, PCB manufacturers, but also like OEMs. But for this piece, let's maybe focus on the EMS space where we are, which is our basic bread and butter business. And here we're really companies helping in their quoting and procurement efforts. So everything supply chain, making sure that you can get the tedious process of quoting a PCBA or something more complex quickly done end to end with our system. And then, of course, if you're also thinking about strategic procurement efforts, consolidating parts around different bill of materials, this is also where we help you. So not just the project procurement side, but also the strategic sourcing aspects.
Very good. Thank you for that. Wayne, let's start with you, sir. Why don't you give an overview and introduction to Trilogy-Net and explain what your role is there within the company?
Sure. So Trilogy-Net, we're based out of Calgary, Alberta, Canada. We have two locations in the city, and we've been in business going on our 24th year. My role there is executive vice president, pretty well everything operational, from sales to software that works. My background is I've been in manufacturing for 25 plus years in the oil and gas and came over to this side. I first started out actually doing oil and gas in the field. So got to travel the world and have fun.
There you go. You got to explore the big wilds of Texas too out there, I'm sure, at some point.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So what was the challenge that Trilogy-Net faced that brought you in contact with Luminovo?
So right at the beginning of the supply chain situation that we ran into, right around the COVID, right after the COVID started, we were using an older system that would send out everything by email. Nothing was live. So by the time we got the information back from the vendors, 1, 2, 3 days later, it was all outdated and very inaccurate. And by the time our customer would come back to us and say, let's go for it, it'd be a whole new situation again. So when you have that much lag time in the market we had, it didn't work. So we actually basically stopped using it, was doing uploads to like DigiKey and some of the straight into distribution. But that was time consuming, taking it, pushing it all together. And yeah, so we decided it was time to look for a new system. Mm-hmm. And that's when we started looking out there.
Now, I'm assuming you consider kind of several options, and as we know, there's competitors out there. Why did you ultimately choose Luminovo as your partner?
We actually did 9 demos, 9 different systems of all of the and we got down to 3, and I met a gentleman named Patrick from Luminovo, and he had me up and running in the test system in 24 hours, which was amazing. We dropped bombs in. We were up and running. Everybody else was anywhere from 6 to 12 weeks with a high degree of involvement and cost to get going. And it was a no-brainer after that. We started. We agreed on it. Within another week or so, we had their manufacturing group with us. setting it all up, we were fully functioned within a month of doing everything. We were sourcing within 24 to 48 hours.
So Sebastian, is that kind of a normal type of engagement process there? Or?
Well, I have to say, I mean, first that just the form buyer that Wayne was, I think, is not 100% normal. So I think most of the EMS companies, we are still on the decision in the front of reaching out to them, making them realize that they even have a problem and that they need to maybe consider a solution despite doing everything like manual with Excel. So I think one that was not so typical is that definitely Wayne was okay. They knew they had a challenge. They had a system before. They were demoing a lot of stuff. So I think that was a little bit different to the what we see normally. And I think that also, I think, came across with like how quickly they kind of really wanted to get hands-on and wanted to really try something out themselves. But this is something we see more and more with our current customer base or prospect base at the moment, that they say, hey, look, can we give this a try? And I think that's where like I think with our system setup shine a lot, specifically compares to maybe like old enterprise heavy or on-premise heavy solutions that need a lot of customization or install base. But some of our, like, the part database, the intelligence of the cleaning is not so much in your historic data, but it's in the system itself. So with that in mind, we can really provide like a trial customer with an instant, like, great experience. Sure, we can't get their pricing, right? Because we don't have their credentials or so on. But they can just envision, okay, if this is how quickly I can get to a list price, and now this would be my prices, how this would feel. So I think that's if you have like someone who really wants to get hands on, that can be that easy to set up.
Yeah.
And then of course I think what you clearly saw with like Wayne and his team is they are they're solution oriented technical people. I think a good EMS probably has to bring that to the table. So they were thinking about how can we quickly get this done. If there was maybe something they couldn't directly figure out in the system, they were working on their own workarounds instead of just like crossing their arms and saying this is not working. Where I have to say, unfortunately, sometimes in Germany, we sometimes tend to have a more like, let's find problems, not solutions attitude when it comes to new IT systems. And I think so. I think it was a good mix of what can we provide from a software perspective, but of course, what's the user on the receiving end, and how willing are they to really adapt this and take the technology that we provide and run with it.
But Sebastian, there, like you made a comment that we'd work around. No, actually, we would do work around, but we would reach out to the team that you put together for us, and they would solve 95% of our issues right then and there. If we, like, Franz and Innes and all those, your customer support was second to none in this whole process we've had for the last year and a half, almost 2 years.
Yeah. So Wayne, what are the results that this has allowed you to achieve, and what was the time frame for that?
Oh, it was the time frame. Like I said, we were fully up and running in about, I would say, no longer than a month. And what it did was consignment quotes, where the customer supplying all the parts. We had to train the customers just to give us the manufacturer part numbers and all that, but we could turn a consignment quote around on a full build, so that using the manufacturing module in about 45 minutes, if that. On the turnkey, what has been so powerful is actually the reporting that comes out of it. We actually show to our customers saying, here's your problem parts, here's what's going to come down the road, and everything like that within the same day. So right then and there, both sides were looking, and can I say it helped our business? Absolutely. In this market, it tremendously helped our business in the sense of the service we were offering our customers. They just loved it. They loved the communication coming out of this system.
Yeah, I was going to say that must have kind of shocked them a bit if it's from the old system you were talking about to
Mm-hmm.
this new one where it happens
Yes.
like that. They must have thought,
Yes.
why weren't you doing this sooner, right? That's
Yes.
excuse me. And so from their perspective, I'm assuming the feedback's been nothing but positive.
Nothing but positive because it's we never really had anybody involved in our other systems. So now, just for an example, any new customers prospects that we do on the average 200 virtual tours a year to our business. That's part of it. We actually sit down, and we've been to the point where some people have sat in our boardrooms and called their office and say, "Can you give me that part number?" We punch it in, we show them what's available. We've had customers phone their engineers like and say, "Send us over the bomb," and we dropped it in and seen what was there. And it's been great.
Yeah. Sebastian, Wayne mentioned and complimented your customer service on there. I did want to touch on that a bit because where is that all based out of Europe? How do you organize and structure that?
Yeah, so currently we have most of it out of Europe, but we are working in a remote first setup. So we currently already have like employees like all across like many continents, and we currently try to cover our like Asian time zones and the North America time zones on the quasi edge of basically Europe and with them some shifted hours. But we are now also like looking further to really expanding and doubling down on North America. We'll like just got like a boost from like the German government that kind of supports like German companies going over to the US. So
Mhm.
that's a program that's going to be kicked off next year, and we'll now also hire more people on the ground, which is also necessary for specifically if you want to move into like more defense oriented topics like there it's 100% necessary that you need like American citizens and so on. So for now, we can't provide that just yet, but this is definitely something where we are venturing into.
And actually, picking up on that, I know that this past year was your first kind of foray into North America, and you actually participated in the trade shows and are going to begin doing that as well. Is that was that part of how you and Wayne came to meet, or was that just in addition to?
Yeah, no, Wayne and we basically met via like our online forum. So they found us via, I think, Google search, and then we connected. And but funnily, as you mentioned that we the show we did at the PCB West show, we actually ended up doing together. So we shared the booth at PCB West, the Trilogy and Luminovo. So that was great. So we had some people to kind of talk about what the experience is going to be like. So that was excellent. And yeah, I think the show was really for us the first one we did on the ground and kind of testing the water, right? Is it like will there be many more like companies like Trilogy that are not satisfied with the status quo, or will many people say like, we have something in place, we think it's okay, and there won't be that much pull? And I think that's something we wanted to find out on the
Mhm.
show on the ground ourselves.
Yeah, and how was that for the overall show for you? I knew you had done it, and I've never spoken to you since. So,
Yeah.
with positive
Um,
experience.
yeah, no, definitely. So I think first of all, we learned a lot of like lingo. I think, like we talk about EMS here, but then in the US it's the CMs, and the prototype business is quick turn, and
Yeah.
there's like small lingo adjustment, and the PCB manufacturers or fabricators. So that's just the small pieces of it that were very interesting. But I also think, what some stuff that we've seen is that there are some more EMS companies, I think, in the States and in Europe that also do their own PCB fabrication, like these kind of assembly houses that kind of do something together. At least we saw many of them at the show. And generally also when it comes to the openness of maybe having portal experience with their customers, like something like Wayne explained, where like EMS companies can invite customers over, there's probably more openness to that. And these are just
Mhm.
two elements where I think we, with our software, shine a lot because on the PCB fabrication side, we have our tool has the depth that also PCB manufacturers are using it for their quotes, which we have shifted left to the EMS. So a PCB is not just a part number for us. We have a very deep analysis of it and can even provide instant pricing for PCBs with our system via an API. And that, of course, is interesting for the like assembly houses that also do fabrication, but also generally for that ecosystem. So I think that was a very positive response and differentiation. And the other is the kind of customer portal experience that Wayne also talked about, where we talked about this at the show already, Eric, where you can invite your customers to kind of with your white label shop to collaborate. And I think that's also something where I would say the average maybe American engineer on the receiving end is probably a little bit more open than here in Europe. So that's why I really feel that the two things where we differentiate maybe the most, besides some other stuff, were both very positively received. That makes us even more bullish now to expand into the US market.
Yeah. Hey, and Wayne, I know it's a global industry, but obviously, and Sebastian touched on some of it, regional differences do still exist. How was it from your experience then, kind of engaging with, a German company?
Actually, it was interesting. It was actually quite fun. It was one thing about the German companies, they're very reactive. When you have something to come back to you, right? And our North American culture is, yeah, we'll get back to you in 24 hours. Sometimes, a lot of times. So it was very reactive. And what it actually did for us is, even though we have like Arrow and Avnet and all these companies, we actually didn't see the European divisions. And it opened it up to us because Luminovo it's hooked to the European, where we couldn't see it on their websites. So all of a sudden we had stock that we never had before, which was nice for us.
Yeah.
Because I still had the account, I just never seen it before. I would have to phone in to find out where the thing was.
So just really increase the visibility across the whole supply chain, what's available. So
yes, yeah, it did.
Yeah. Hey, now, obviously we're talking about the EMS. EMS has been a challenging industry but a growing industry too, right? And so what's your kind of view of that as we look forward into 2024? Do you have, what do you see the future, both, can maybe start with North America and maybe even globally? How are you seeing that industry? And Wayne, you're on the ground. How do you take it you're bullish about the business you're in?
Well, I think it's pretty steady. I think it's pretty steady. I don't think the supply chain is as fixed as everybody's reporting, right? Like, I mean, like all the big chip manufacturers, they're all running at 100% capacity, but they have orders 2 years out, right? 2 to 3 years out. So if you're in the mainstream, the O2s, the smaller packet size, you'll be able to get parts. But we're getting notifications from some of the big manufacturers. They're going to be the 12s are gone, the 10 series are gone. Like, we're going to be down to the 8s. Sure, some other company will start picking it up, but your price is going to skyrocket, right? So, like I said into my little thing is unless you're mainstream, most people are in redesign. And that is one place that Luminovo just shines heavy. I'm going to give you a quick example. I will not say who it was, but they were in redesign. They were going, and all of a sudden the company got acquired for one of their amplifiers, and the part went from a $2 part to $200 part because they bought it and discontinued it. But they were in design. They were looking for 30,000 of these. But they caught it right at that level because they had access to the design page, and they called up and says, "Is this real? Is this real?" Because it showed an acquired, and we dug into it and said yes. And he goes, "Wow, I didn't even get that through the normal channels, so it was distribution. Everything, it just came up." So, they really were impressed with it.
Yeah. Sebastian, what's your view? That's quite a testament right there, by the way. That's
I think in general, maybe Wayne just touched upon, that maybe, their there's activity in M&A, and there's still, even though the kind of supply chain crisis maybe per se with the like whatever, like the demand and supply shifts might be gone a little, but there's still M&A activities that are causing like instant shifts. So I think it's still like the lessons learned that we had from the supply chain crisis is that you should never design in isolation, but you should really like always have a visibility on the supply chain, on the current availability, future availability with life cycle, but also on the compliance side. I think is still valid and will probably not go away. And there, of course, if you have like not just like risk alert systems, but also answers to it via, in this case, alternative parts, that's going to be definitely like vital to continue with. But I also think that it will probably be that the forecasts of your customers, they will not hold. People will readjust forecasts. They will change the demands they have, which will also force you maybe to run a recalculation more often. So I think that's, from a quoting perspective, also something where with like version histories where you can quickly compare all the new demands, really can help you give a quickly answer to the customers. But that's just more maybe on this from the quoting perspective that Wayne touched upon. I think on a higher level, I think it's really, as we always say, EMS is like a service, but S could also stay for solutions, right? Customers are looking in EMS for finding solutions to it. And I think the more you can like supercharge your own problem solving capabilities with software and help your customers get good answers, I think you will basically continue to be on top. Plus, I mean, what I think Dieter always says, right, that there's still, I think, over like 50% of the manufacturing volume is still done in-house. And I think more and more people are continuing maybe to outsource to contract manufacturers and EMS companies. But there's also a lot of stuff that comes back from Asia to Europe and North America because of like nearshoring activities. So I think also there as an EMS, you have to be ready to take on new customers, even and serve them well, serve them quickly, and win them over. And I think these are probably how can you serve existing customers well and adapt to the changes, and how can you be like a poster child CM to new customers and take advantage of this shift.
Yeah. And when, as I hear Sebastian, go through that, it makes me think that it's really his type of what Luminovo has to offer that really allows you to be more of that solution rather than a service provider, right? That really allows you to help kind of problem solve and really engage at a deeper level and have greater visibility.
That is correct. Yeah. The alternates, everything that Luminovo does is designed to make the customer's job easier, and ours too. And he touched on it. More and more North American companies are leaving Asia, right? More and more, because first thing we have to compete against is price, but more and more people are saying it's not the price anymore. It's the quality. It's all the other services, right? And so with Luminova, it's instant. It's real time. They've hooked our contract pricing up. It is there as one of the most powerful tools we've come across, right, for our industry.
And in this kind of, which undoubtedly would be an ever-changing kind of an environment moving forward, right? I mean, we talk because we haven't even talked about the supply chain the material manufacturers once that starts shifting to other regions potentially as well, right? And some of that that's going to be even more confounding, right? To stay up on that. And it sounds like these are the types of solutions that are just going to be so critical to success in the future.
And mergers, and like there was a couple of big companies that take over, and automatically Sebastian and his team are on that. We notify them, and they're right on. They have a great team looking at our distribution people to hook into them, right? They're working with the distribution network of North America, so it's getting larger and larger every day.
That's excellent. Gentlemen, this has been great. Sebastian, I just want to pull you in one last time? Is there anything? I mean, this is, we're saying nice things about you, and you're sitting there very quietly. So that's as you should, right? But any final thoughts or comments you'd like to add?
Yeah, maybe I think one thing is that this kind of digital experience that maybe Wayne described in the quoting stage, I think that's something that also we try to think about more, is how can we, from a Luminovo perspective, support the EMS even more on the whole customer life cycle, right? In a digital interface, because how can we, one, make some physical services you do anyway, make them transparent, the results. That could be something very easy, from how far is my production order, how much stuff is shipped, how much inventory do I still have, like at Trilogy, right? All these kind of answers, if you want to bring them together in like a customer space, I think that can also kind of set you apart from the competition. Then this early, how can you get hook in early into the designers, provide them already like an early warning indicator for risks, or like how can I design maybe for the capabilities of you as a CM, but then also going forward, right? Then there's like the serious, there's the demand changes, as I mentioned. How can we maybe make this whole like journey, bring this into a collaborative online space for you to kind of become a really digital EMS? I think that's something that we also think about. How can you go beyond just quoting, but there's so much more digital value that you can provide. And I think that's where we want to we want to support the innovators in the field.
Very good, very good. And Wayne, any final thoughts from your end, sir?
No, I don't. I think he summed it up. I don't. I don't think people know the full power of Luminova. Like, it's just more of there's a bunch of pieces in there, such as even the viewer, as he talks about the PCB viewer, right? Our staff uses it. You can is it 100% what an engineer would use? No, but it's really quick to look at. We can see it. It's very quick. The manufacturing modules, the the whole package keeps growing. So it's a very powerful. It's more than just supply chain. That's what I always say. It's more than just supply chain. We can do the entire build through the whole system, and we can take the information, because they've done a great job with the AI. We hook it right to our ERP, so everything's coming right out of there, right into it. And again, the support to do that has been second to none.
Well, thank you both for taking the time to share this success story with us. I think it's quite a testament to Luminovo, obviously, but also to Trilogy-Net and what they're engaged in to improve their services and their offerings in the industry. So thank you both. I wish you continued success in this engagement.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for taking the time, Eric.
Certainly.
Thank you, sir.